I'm sorry that I don't speak Portuguese. All the people at the front have won the lottery today. Congratulations. And all the people at the back have to come on the stage in a minute and help me sing. It's a bit like children, isn't it? Nobody sits at the front. It's a bit like that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about children, and about education, and about Kidzania and how it all fits, which is very important for us to understand. And I think we need to build a more creative way to social mobility rather than the way that we know at the moment. And I want to talk a little bit about that. The first thing we need to understand is that education and schooling are two different things. Schooling is going to school and being taught at school. Education we do every day, 24 hours, all our lives. We learn all the time. So we need to be really clear about the difference. And sometimes I think that in our societies that we're not quite clear anymore, and that we expect the school to deal with all matters educational. Well, not every classroom has 4 walls. And with our children, we should never ever take shortcuts. Because if we take shortcuts, we will have accidents. And our children and young people are far too precious for us to risk accidents. So if we bear in mind and think that time can be a good thing. We want everything done tomorrow, and in our world we want to do everything fast. Education and learning the right things the right way take time. The other thing about education is not about tests. Education is not about examinations. Schooling is about tests, and schooling is about examinations. But in the wider sense, it is about what we learn, how we decide what's valuable, and how we apply this. Yeah? And how we apply this to better ourselves and to better our society. And the most important person in my life when I was little was my granddad. I loved my granddad very much, and still do. And he was my role model. He was the person I wanted to be like. And when I was very little, my granddad told me that happiness was really important. Happiness was the most important thing in life. Whatever you do, be happy. He used to say. So when I went to school, when I was little, and they asked me the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said happy. And then they said that I didn't understand the question. With hindsight, I think I did understand the question. I think they didn't understand the answer. But we need to think about what education is about. Yeah? And just imagine if we at Kidzania and all of us as industry partners and as schools and as educators, if we can contribute to creating a society of happy people who are fulfilled and proud in what they do and confident, I think that would be the best achievement ever. And that is much more important than an examination grade. Examination grades are just stepping stones to see how well you've learned what you've been taught. All grown-ups were once children, but only few of them remember it. And I used to turn around to people and say, have you forgotten what it was like to be 7 years old and to be excited? I think it is brilliant that the children are running, because it shows me that they are excited. So we, collectively, as grown-ups, when we work with children, we need to always remember what it was like to be a child. And I think we very often forget. And I'll show you an example of that, which is a real photograph in a park in London. It says, Children's Garden. Hooray! A children's garden. And then it tells me everything I can't do. So actually, do you know what? I don't want to go to the garden. So how brilliant would that sign have been if it had said, Children's Garden, and here are all the things you can do. Incidentally, there is another explanation here. Now you understand why England will never win the World Cup. So think of the messages. If you're 7 or 8 years old, think of the messages that we are giving to our kids. We're telling them constantly what they are not allowed to do. So one of the things that we need to do is distinguish between teaching and learning. And in an environment like Kidzania, that we allow children to do things, that we allow children to decide what they don't like, as well as what they do like, and that they can find their own explanations of those actions. That is part of our purpose and part of our meaning. So the sign that I would like to see outside every Kidzania, and actually the sign I would like to see outside every school, is this one. I think in a world that is not a very good place sometimes, I think one of the things that we can collectively give our children is hope and confidence and self-belief and pride and excitement. Can you remember when you were little and you did a drawing, or you played in a theatre play at school, or you played an instrument, or you achieved something? Can you remember how good that felt, and then you wanted to go home and tell your parents and tell your grandparents? Well, we need that back, and that is one of the purposes that we have. And I do not want grown-ups to tell children, I'll hold the money for you, go and do this, go and do that, don't do this, and don't Firefox or Pilot. But the answer we were getting was, consistently, wherever we asked the question, the answer we were getting was the activities that are branded. And when we asked them why, the answer we got was, because those activities are real. And if you think about it, so in London, for example, British Airways is much more real than Kidzania Airways. So I understand totally where those children come from. So when we talk about industry partners, because that's what we call our partners, our sponsors, I think of them much more as learning partners. Because clearly their contribution is to make the learning more real, and therefore to make the learning better. And I think there's a whole study and evaluation to be done in the very important role of those partners. And I think one of the jobs that we have collectively, Sao Paulo and London and all the other Kidzanias, is we also need to reflect our internationalism in our activities. And I think we need to work about that more. So Education Kidzania is the element that is entertainment and education. I never quite understand, and it's a very sad reflection. I think that many people ask me, well, Kidzania, is it entertainment or is it education? Is it fun or is it education? I think that's quite a sad question, don't you think? Because it implies that education can't be fun. So I don't answer it. I think it's a silly question. I think it's a stupid question. I think what we need to say is we're both. And we're unreservedly both. And actually, how do I know? Because I can walk around, like many of you, every day. I can walk around and I see children engage, and I see children learn, and I see children smile, and I see children enjoy. I rest my case. And good schooling gives you a lot of knowledge, and good schooling gives you good knowledge. But there's something missing. Wherever I am in the world, I ask children, why do you go to school? And the answer I get very often is, because I have to. That's not a good answer. So we need to look at purpose. We need to provide scenarios whereby children begin to understand why education matters. So what we need to do, as well as school children in knowledge, we need to provide opportunities to experience. Opportunities for children to understand that science and mathematics and English matter in an applied context. Because the teaching of those subjects is what schools do. So what we did is we talked to 250 companies worldwide, and we asked 250 companies, when you work with young people, with 16-year-olds, and you want to employ young people, what is it you're looking for? And And the answers we were getting were not school subjects. The answers we were getting is 3 weeks work experience in the primary school. And after 3 weeks she concluded that she never wanted to be a primary school teacher. So the school wrote a letter saying, we're very sorry that your work experience was not successful. So I wrote back to the school and said, you could not be more wrong. Her work experience was incredibly successful because you allowed her to make up her own mind from experience, rather than from a textbook or being taught in a lesson. Experience is absolutely everything. School, the stereotypes are set. The aeroplane at Kidzania has 2 activities, cabin crew and pilot. Cabin crew, 80% boys, 20% girls. Cabin crew 80% girls, 20% boys. Pilot, 80% boys, 20% girls. In Mexico, in Mumbai, in London. Whether they are 4 years old or 14-year-old, that's the pattern. That's the first thing. All the stereotypes are set at the age of 4. The second thing is, there is almost no change between 4 and 14. Children do not change their behavior, despite the fact that governments say, we do the STEM agenda. We teach that almost all girls, everywhere in the world, almost all girls choose activities below their age range. And almost all boys choose activities above their age range. Now we're going to give this information to schools and to governments because we think that they need to listen to this and they need to adjust their education provision. So I was quite shocked, and actually if all of this happens at the age of 4, we can't blame the education system. As parents and communities, we need to take a very good look at ourselves. It's that we must stop being stupid as adults. Yeah? Because the other thing we do is we only talk about children as if they're one-dimensional. You're either young or old. You're either boy or girl. You're either black or white. You're either rich or poor. Do you know what? If you are a girl, and you're young, and you're black, and you're poor, you have less chance than most other children. And we need to face the reality of injustice in that sense, that our children confront wherever in the world we are to, and we need to try and do something about that. So one of the discussions I've been having with Kidzanias globally is that through our staffing, we need to model good behaviour. So if we are in the engineering plant at Kidzania, that we have female members of staff role modeling to children that it's possible. That we are, when we are in the maternity unit, that we have male members of staff role modeling to children that men can be midwives and maternity nurses too. They are small steps, but they matter. And we need to start with small steps. And that when you do further research, that education is the answer. Not just schooling, but education. What we do need to ask ourselves is who the teachers are. And the teachers are not just the people who school in school, but you are all teachers. Every grown-up is a teacher. Industry are teachers. Everybody has their role to play. And we need to engineer programs whereby, so I'll give you an example. One of the things we're talking about at Kidzania is we need to work more closely with schools. Schools are the experts on children. We are the experts on Kidzania. If you put the two together, our provision will be brilliant. We should have careers weeks where children can meet real pilots, where they can meet their role models. But the other thing I like about Kidzania is when the kids come in there, they have to find out. They have to find out how it works. So the little boy who came to me in London and said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Fire away." And he said, when I left Kidzania, I had 70 kidsos in the bank. And now I've come back and I've got 72 in the bank. And I don't understand. And I said, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm just going to give you one word, and it's called interest. And I'm going to come and find you in about an hour's time, and you'll have worked it out. And he did. So it's about discovery, and it's about encouraging curiosity and confidence. only aspire to what they know exists. And it is our responsibility to widen their horizons. So we need to think constantly how we can widen those horizons. So what you're saying is, you can do the Rubik's Cube the first time I give it to you. Some children need more experiences and more exposure than other children. It is then incidentally our duty, as Kitanians in this case, to work out pricing structures whereby perhaps if you're poor, you pay less. And that's a consequence of what we're saying, and in quite a few parts of the world, that is exactly what we do. That this research is being taken very seriously. So I'm speaking at conferences from Moscow to the United Nations to the country of the world. You will see that there is no Brazilian representative on there, but before you start complaining, there will be, and we're working on it. And we hope to know sooner rather than later that place will be. And the message from the Kitania Garden is that weighing the vegetables doesn't make them any heavier and doesn't make them any better. But giving them the right food and the right water and the right sustenance will make them heavier and better. And that's how we need to think about education, and that is the role that we aim to play. Not better and not worse. Each child is different. There is no bad child by the way. The only children end up in trouble because of the grown-ups around. But each child is different. And I love this quote. It simply says, if you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking. We need to very seriously think about how we educate our children. Those names are real names. Competencies to shape the future. It is about acting rather than to be acted upon. It is about shaping rather than to be shaped. And it is about choosing rather than to accept choices decided by others. If that is what we can do with our children and for our children, and Kitania can play its little part, I shall be very proud. And finally, going back to being a child and going back to my grandfather. We ask children very often, what do you want to be when you grow up? It is an unfair question, because there are many things they don't know, and the poorer you are, the less you know, so the more the answer we're looking for encourages the status quo. And actually, quite often what children mean when they give the answer is not what they want to be, but who they would like to be like. Because children copy behavior. So when I talk to, I used to live near Manchester United, David Beckham and all that stuff, and Eric Cantona. And when I talk to children and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? No child said a footballer. Because on their back it said 7 Beckham. They want to be like somebody because there's something about that behavior or their skills that they like. So when I was 11, I wanted to be like my grandfather.